Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show today. We are going to have a great show for you today. Hey, Don, our good old station manager and program director, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Well, I'm happy that you're doing great, but we're doing great. And in here, kind of keeping, going to kind of watch and keep me in check, we have Nicholas McGee, a friend of the family, who's going to be here watching the show. And who knows, I may actually put him on the spot. I don't know. I may do that. What you say about that, Nicholas?
I'm fine with that, sir.
You're fine with that?
Yes.
And, you know, this guy's so respectful. Sir, makes me feel old. But, you know, that is okay. But we're going to have a great show today. Folks, you know what the title of the show is today? The title of the show today is We Are Owned by the 1% because let me start that again. We are owned by the 1% because they stole it from us. Reassert ownership. I want to have you let that sink in a bit. What do you think I really mean by that? They stole it from you. I mean, they didn't do anything illegal at all. Nothing that they did to garner what they got was illegal. They did this all very much legally. My question to you is then, are they all that much better than you are? Are you just a louse and they are just so good? I mean, ask yourself some of those questions. What is it in our system that allow some to flourish and others not? Is that intrinsic to your being? Not really. You know, let's get off economics for a while. You know, I've been to several churches, right? And you see the people in church and you see these folks with great voices. And then you go ahead and you turn on one of the stations on the news or something, and you see somebody that isn't that great of a singer, but they made it big. And then you go to some local event, and you hear a 13-year-old blast out some notes that's great. But then they never made it. What is it? Well, first of all, let me give you something about the first, and then I'm going to really get into the show. Social media is going to have made things a whole lot better, right? Because in the past, a master came out and said, I like this person, and because I like Michael Jackson is going to make it over Bill Davis, another singer of the day. And they decided they were going to monetize Michael Jackson. A master decided they were going to make him great. Not that Michael Jackson wasn't great in his own right. He was. But somebody decided of all the greats, from a subjective point of view, who we were going to allow to be great. Same thing with models. Same thing with a whole lot of professions, right? We have a society that we decide who's going to be great. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know, but I know it doesn't have to be that way. Now, my friend in the studio was talking about social media. Now, social media is a great equalizer. That is one of the things I said about the internet, because if you're a great singer, you can go out there and create your own posse on YouTube, right?
Yes, sir.
And you could have a whole lot of people come into YouTube, and you could make money off of being a great singer on YouTube, right?
Yes, sir.
Because YouTube is going to give you ads. But guess what happens after that, my friend? Nicholas, guess what happens?
It slowly decreases.
It's not that it necessarily has to decrease, but Google then becomes who owns YouTube,
Yes, sir.
then becomes your master, right?
Yeah.
And they can decide if they're going to send traffic your way and allow ads to go your way such that you can monetize your talent. We are in a closed economic system that has nothing to do with the free markets they tell you about. It's a master-slave relationship, and until we have true free enterprise, that will continue. The only reason I gave did you want to say something?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine.
The only reason I gave that example, folks, is this, when Nicholas came into the studio, we just started having little conversations, and then he was talking about the young people of his age. He's a Gen Z person. They are really into social media, and they think it is a way forward, and it is, if the master allows. And that is what I want Gen Zs to understand. That is what I want Gen Ys to understand. That is what I want millennials to understand. That is what I want every American to understand. We are in a system of benign slavery. And I had an entire episode on that, on benign slavery. And the reason I started, I'm not doing the show yet, the reason I started this is because Nicholas forced me to say this based on the statements he made. And I know that Nicholas represents a whole lot of Gen Zs. I know Nicholas represents a whole lot of millennials, and what I want to get into my brothers and my sisters, my children now, because you could be my child. What I want to get into these young people is that things look rosy. The owners of YouTube, the owners of Facebook, and all these guys want you to believe that you can go ahead and do something great for them, for yourself with them. But never forget, my brothers and sisters, and for those that are older as well that are using it. Come on, I'm using the platform myself. I'm using the platform like I'm a darn teenager or Gen Xer myself. But I learned the hard way that it's a master-slave relationship, even on social media. And some other time I'm going to have a show on that particular one. But like I said, we got it changed based on Nicholas telling me some of the things that he did. But anyhow, let's get with the show. The title of the show is We Are Owned by the 1%. They stole it from us. Reassert Ownership. Now, we have got to wake up, and this is subtitle. We have got to wake up and start doing what is necessary to take back ownership of what is our birthright. We must not allow what is a categorical theft to survive. And I use these hyperbolic languages sometimes, and some people get on my case like, Egberto, did you really have to say it that way? And I say to them, yes. And let me tell you why I tell them yes. I'm going to tell you why. Some of the language is hyperbolic, I confess. But there's this stuff in psychology where if I look at you and I said, if I don't say benign, when I say that you, a person that thinks they're free, if I don't say you are suffering from benign slavery, and I just say you're suffering from, and I just say you're being taken advantage of, that's not going to stick in your brain because everybody tell you things like that. But if I look at you and I say, if you equate the things that are happening to you to slavery or these other concepts, it's going to make you take back, and the way the brain works, it's going to stick. And then you're going to start thinking about it. By the way, I learned that in Psychology 101. Okay, so anyhow, did the title and subtitle get your attention? I hope so. Even as progressives have made substantive gains in the 2018 midterms, there is still a sense of angst. We know what we want. We want Medicare for all. We want student debt forgiveness. We want pay-it-forward education for all. Thom Hartmann reported that the Plutocracy has already formed shadow organizations of misinformation to fool people into believing Medicare for all is not in their best interest. Do not doubt that will be replicated for every progressive initiative. Every progressive initiative will have the plutocracy coming out with some institution to fool you into believing that these left-wingers don't really have your best interests, but that we, the centered ones, are the ones. Well, the centered ones have been controlling the economy for decades, for centuries. And what they've done is they've made most people poor. They've been extracted. But anyhow, before I get to the program, I want to remind all of our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig on Mondays at 2 p.m.
Then, of course, we have Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And, of course, we have Jazz Latino Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its best, hosted by
Juan Flores on Tuesdays at noon.
And then there's Jenner Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground, Bhangra, Bollywood, funk, Hindi, Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats, and that is on
Thursdays, noon to 2 p.m.
And, of course, we have Really But Not Really, a hip-hop and R&B parody show on Wednesday at 10 p. Wednesday when again?
10 p.m. by Rosemont and Marcel Monroe.
There we go.
I should know these people.
Well, you should, but I mean, you have a lot on your mind. Anyhow, there is also Border Radio, Best of Americana music featuring
Susan Darrow,
and
right after Politics Done Right at 4 p.m.
Absolutely right. And then there's Black on Both Sides, a public affairs program where their effort is to highlight politics and public affairs. And that is when again?
Fridays, noon to 2 p.m. on HD2.
So, folks, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please, 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 please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
Absolutely so. But, folks, let me tell you something. We're not in fund drive or anything like that, but I feel compelled to say that we are trying to do this thing where we don't have to go into fund drive a whole lot as often as before. So what I'm asking you is when we give you that address, kpft.org, that you go ahead and, you know, if you have the wherewithal. I mean, no, the cable company never have to ask you for contributions to keep a station alive or anything like that. You give it to them, $100, $200, $300 a month. We ask you to become a contributor to kpft.org. So go over to kpft.org and keep these public community stations alive, because we are the only thing left here in Southeast Texas that's going to save you from the not save you from the plutocracy, but have you save yourself from the plutocracy. But folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. Title of the blog post has that 1% again. The 1% has gone too far, and it is time for us to take ownership all back. And what most Americans believe is that they don't really count. They believe that somehow it's cooked. You know, they just have to let things be. They have no control. And my goal in life, the reason I've given up everything that I've given up to do this is because I got tired of saying things could be better. I got tired of saying somebody should do something, and I said to myself, just like Don has said to himself, and many of the folks around here have said to themselves, we can be the difference. This 100,000-watt radio station is going to be one of those places of knowledge. Politics done right is going to be one of those places of knowledge to really help us, help ourselves get out of what they put us in, and that's our goal. That is our goal. And, you know, I want to give Don and the staff here some kudos for all the good things that I've seen happening. Don, kudos to you guys for these great changes that I'm starting to see.
Thanks.
Now, here's a blog of the week. We have been indoctrinated into believing that our economy is ordained. That indoctrination is what allows most to accept our fate, one of eventual indentured servitude for most. I call that benign slavery. Watch CNBC or Fox Business. There is a class of people in this country that feels entitled to have ownership of everything on the backs of those they think are beneath them. Nomi Prince's article, A World That Is the Property of the 1%, Wall Street, Banks, and Angry Citizens, is probative. She points out the obvious. I'm going to read her excerpt in a minute, but I want to remind you folks that this is a call-in show, so please remember to give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. You can call now because all the lines are empty, and I'll be ready to take your calls as soon as I'm done with the blog of the week. And if you don't call, you know I have a long amount of stuff to talk about. But anyhow, give us a call, 713-526-5738. Anyhow, as we head into this is what she said. As we head into 2019, leaving the chaos of this year behind, a major question remains unanswered when it comes to the state of Main Street, not just here, but across the planet. If the global economy really is booming, as many politicians claim, why are leaders and their parties around the world continuing to get booted out of office in such a sweeping fashion? One obvious answer: the post-Great Recession economic recovery was largely reserved for the few who could participate in the rising financial markets of those years, not the majority who continue to work longer hours, sometimes at multiple jobs, to stay afloat. In other words, the good times have left out so many people, like those struggling to keep even a few $100s in their bank accounts to cover an emergency of the 80% of American workers who live paycheck to paycheck. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying here. 80% of Americans, if you're in a room with 100 people, 80 of those people are living paycheck to paycheck. You take a paycheck away from them, they're in dire straits. That is America today, people. My brothers and my sisters, that is America today. The other thing that I always talk about is Americans suffering in silence. You would never know that. You watch the full freeways. You see everybody with a smile, concerned in the background. What happens if I lose my job? What happens if my daughter gets sick and I don't have insurance? The 20% in Texas that don't. Think about that. Suffering in silence. Well, let me tell you, you need not do that. If more of us told the truth, if more of us spoke up, if more of us weren't ashamed of our condition, but realized that our current condition is a result of our current economic system and what they've done to us. All of you are working. All of you want to work. All of you want to do the things that are necessary to be financially successful, but you can't. And why can't you? Because the system is putting the restrictions on you. It's not, for the most part, it's not you. No, I'm not saying there are not bombs out there now. I'm not so altruist, or I'm not so gullible that I don't know that. But most people want to do what's right. So anyway, she explains the results of that reality. Why are those things happening? Why? She says, in today's global economy, security is increasingly the property of the 1%. Right. Monetary security doesn't belong to you. They can decide to lay you off. And because you don't have a social safety net, you're screwed. And at the same time, they're saying, we don't want to have a social safety net. You don't really want that now. And then you vote for people who says that. We gotta start looking out for number one. We have to start looking up for each other. No surprise then that as a sense of economic instability continued to grow over the past decade, angst turned to anger, a transition that from the U.S. to the Philippines, Hungary to Brazil, Poland to Mexico, has provoked a plethora of voter upheavals. In the process, in the 1930s style brew of rising nationalism and blaming the other being anybody that doesn't look like you or whatever, whenever that other was an immigrant, a religious group, a country, or the rest of the world emerged. The phenomenon offered a series of Trumpian figures, including, of course, the Donald Trump himself, an opening to ride a wave of populism to the heights of the political system. That the backgrounds and records of none of them, whether you are talking about Donald Trump, Viktor Orban, Rodrigo Duterte, or Jair Bolsonaro, that's a new guy from Brazil, reflected the daily concerns of the common people as the classic definition of populism might have it. Hardly mattered. Even a billionaire could, it turned out, exploit economic insecurity effectively and use it to rise to power. How can Donald Trump possibly talk about that? Darian, Mark, I'm coming to you soon. Ironically, as that American master at evoking the fears of apprentices everywhere showed to assume the highest office in the land was only to begin a process of creating yet more fear and insecurity. Trump trade wars, for instance, have typically infused the world with increased anxiety and distrust towards the U.S., even as they thwarted the ability of domestic business leaders and ordinary people to plan for the future. Meanwhile, just under the surface of the reputed good times, the damage to the future only intensified. In other words, the groundwork has already been laid for what could be a frightening transformation both domestically and globally. Close quote. And I'm coming near the end, but listen to this. Ms. Prince went on to give context to the manner in which the 1% got over after the 2008 financial meltdown. She showed how quantitative easing inflated the wealth of the capital class while leaving everyone else behind. Quantitative easing is an unconventional monetary policy whereby the feds flood the market with created cash by buying up securities. So they buy up all these securities from people who own them. What that meant is that their policy was biased to those who hold securities. And who holds securities? Rich people. I mean, all of us own a little bit of securities, but I mean, the mass of folk who own securities on these things are rich people. Okay? Moreover, all the money effectively inflated stocks. As such, the wealthy prospered orders of magnitude above and beyond the masses. Are there any doubts that the system is rigged? It is no accident that the world is in chaos. The average citizen of the world are throwing spaghetti at the walls to see what will stick. In Brazil, they're trying a right-wing racist, sexist ideologue. Of course, in America, we were trying Donald Trump and a man whose soul and ideas are available to the highest bidder. The chaos around the world is the natural reaction of humanity under stress. Americans are not reacting any differently than anybody else in the world. I'm originally from Panama. When this kind of stress occurred in Panama, the same riots that's coming to America, we got. You know, everybody have a tendency to think America is insulated from a lot of these things. As my wife used to say, people are people. And that's true. I used to kind of smirk when she said it, but she's right. People are people. And they react the same thing under the same conditions and stresses and the same constraints. The chaos we see around the world is simmering in America. There is one huge difference. The people most taken advantage of are well armed. When they flip, it will not be pretty. Folks, telephone number 713-526-5738. Again, that number 713-526-5738. I'm going to line one with Dorian a little bit, but I want to ask my guests one thing real quickly. You're 20 years old, and I am older, way older. A blog like this, does it mean anything to you? Did you capture any of it at all, or?
Parts and pieces matter, but it's more I'm not too familiar with at certain aspects.
Right. The reason I'm asking that is I also need to be able to talk in such a manner that some of our younger folks get it, because you guys are the ones that are going to actually see the repercussions. So that's why I asked you that. But anyhow, let's go to Dory. Come on in.
Hello, this is Tori.
Tori, come on in, my friend.
Hey, it's not going to be all that pretty, but working class people need to put as much effort into owning the means of production as they do into joining unions or any other kind of political struggle, because, we need to keep our eyes on the prize. Where's the goalpost? And it's ultimately workers owning the means of production. That's the only way to achieve any kind of political or economic horizontalism. And, if we look at things objectively, the problem is hierarchy in politics and economics, the way that, things have been organized forever. And it's part of our evolution. I mean, back before civilization, when we're tribal, things are slightly hierarchical. But we've seen this turn into this huge spike, as civilization advances, and we have more machines that do more efficiencies for us. Things become more and more hierarchical as corporations get bigger and last longer than a human lifetime. They have these structures that supersede, the nation state ultimately. These huge hierarchically organized companies. And so to connect the dots here, Richard Wolff.
I love him. Yes.
He talks about workers' co-ops. He calls himself a Marxist.
Mm-hmm.
I think of him as post-Marxist because he doesn't seem to go through all this other stuff that a lot of other lefties and communists go through. Like first you have to seize the state, and then somewhere down the line there's workers owning the means of production. It's like, no, man, just get to the point. If it's a small corporation, get the workers to organize and buy it out and have a worker-owned democratic co-op. I mean, that's where it starts and that's where it ends.
Tori, your statements are so refreshing. First of all, because what you did is you said let's control our own destiny. And I love hearing that. You see what happens in a lot of times, and that is where you have to be a leader, right? Because what we have is a lot of people in America right now that feel they don't have the ability to do so. But when we have people like yourself who can see the big picture, you can actually start helping folks see the big picture, and then collectively you can actually get something done. That's the purpose of politics done right. For us to find folks like you and others who are going to go out there and really come up with these ideas and bring people in. So I want to tell you, Mark, I'm coming to you after Tori, but I like what Tori is saying right here. We need more people like you, not only sitting back on your couch thinking these good thoughts, but also being a part of the movement, making these thoughts, putting these thoughts into reality. And you say, Tori.
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening. I mean, there's co-ops all over the place,
yes,
but they don't advertise.
Right.
I mean, it's like people don't talk about it other than Richard Wolff.
Right.
And it's not just here, and there's other ways of doing it. In Europe, what's very common is they're starting to get these laws, that govern corporations,
mm-hmm,
to let workers, representatives of the union, on the boards themselves,
right,
sitting at the table with the ownership class of these large corporations.
Well,
and that's another inroad. It's another foot in the door.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but Elizabeth Warren did exactly that. Her bill, her capitalism bill, a reform capitalism or something bill, has exactly that, where 40% of the board has to be the workers, unions, etc. So she's already thought about that. She's already put that in a bill. It wasn't going to go anywhere until we really get a completely progressive Congress in both chambers, as well as a progressive president to do so. So, I mean, those things, you're right, in the works. But what we have to do in the interim, because there is also an agenda by the Plutocracy to fool people into believing that these things can't be done. But we have to have you and others out there pointing it out that it can be done. I need to go to the next call. Anything you need to close up real quickly, Tori?
No, that's good. Alternative media. We need our own media.
That's what we are.
We need a whole parallel shadow society that replaces the work that the 1% is doing for us.
Look,
which is organizing our whole lives, right?
Exactly. In fact, the media now is controlled by the 1%. I have a job for you, Tori, my brother. And this, you listen to KPFT often, or did you just kind of fly past
I've been listening every day since 1976.
I love to hear that. Well, I hope you're not only listening, but you're also promoting, because that is where we get the biggest bang.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it, Tori. You have a great day, sir, and thank you so kindly
for
calling me. Thank you, brother.
Cheers.
Oh, this is Tori. I think I know you. Come on, Tori. Oh, buddy, thank you.
Mercer.
Have a good one, buddy. You have a great one.
Have
all
a good one.
Take
Ciao.
care. All right, let's go to Mark. Come on in, Mark.
Hi. I think you are right. The elites have plans for us, but we can resist them. And most of it is started with turning off your TV,
Mm-hmm.
stop listening to advertising, stop buying, stop consuming, stop going out and buying the latest shiny object that they want you to buy. You just stop giving them money, start to starve the machine, and start thinking for yourself. If you do listen to mainstream media, really question, who benefits from this and what do they really think about it yourself. Don't just accept it.
No.
And we have the power in us, to overcome them.
You're absolutely right. And I like what you say about stop watching TV or whatever. Look, folks aren't going to completely stop watching TV, but what we have to do is empower them to say, you're watching this, but here are the realities that we need to know. Watch it objectively, watch it knowing. And if you're watching TV or listening to mainstream media knowing, then it is okay. In fact, you can be a catalyst, or you can be that antidote for your friend who is taken and bought into that, and you can help them buy out of that.
Right. And it does take some time to wake other people up, but, they come around, and because the truth is there and people feel it, they feel something's wrong. There's something nagging at them in the back of their head.
Right.
And they just need to be, told about the truth.
You're absolutely right, Mark. Folks, we have more lines open, 713-526-5738. They say I speak fast sometimes, so here it goes. 713-526-5738. And just saying that, a couple more rang. Okay, now, Mark, is there anything else you have to say before I go to the next call?
Maybe just for everybody, you need to be self-reliant. You need to be able to take care of yourself and not take anything from the government, because when they give you money, they own you.
Well, that is so true, my friend. That is so true. Hey, I need to go to the next call, but thank you so kindly for calling in, Mark. Keep listening. Keep telling folks. Spreading the word. Okay, my friend?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you now. Okay, let's go to... which one do I go to next? David? Okay, great. David, come on in.
Hey, what's up, Egberto?
Great. Talk to me, my brother.
I'm not watching TV right now.
Okay.
One thing I have to say about is your caller before me.
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of irritated by some of the stuff he was saying, because it sounds to me like a lot of that stuff, it sounds cliche to me.
Give me the example.
The reason I'm so, when he says you got to take care of yourself, you got to be self-sufficient.
Oh, I got you.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever read the book by Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow?
No, I haven't, but I've heard enough excerpts about it that I think I could say, oh, maybe I know, maybe I've read, but I haven't, no.
You should get it and read it.
Okay.
Because she explains some of the stuff in there that crystallizes my objections to what this fellow before me was saying. In some cases, you simply don't have the resources to take care of
I get
yourself.
where you're going.
And the simple fact of the matter is this: in many cases, if you're born, it's just like, remember what I think it was Ann Richards that said about George Bush.
The silver spoon in his mouth, yeah.
Yeah, he was born on third base and he thinks he hit a triple.
Yes.
Well, I heard another statement that George Bush made, and so I didn't. The person that said it, I trusted he was correct. He was this is when George Bush was in Yale.
Right.
And it was some kind of sociology class they were in. They were discussing poverty. And George Bush, when they asked him what reasons why poor people are poor, George, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was listening.
Okay, I'm hearing an echo.
Yes.
George Bush was saying that, he says, this is confusing. He says that, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. He says the reason why poor people are poor is because they're lazy.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell does George Bush know about poverty?
Exactly.
This guy was born in the lap of luxury, and when Naomi Prince was talking about this qualitative easing,
right?
This is basically the consequence of an ownership society.
Right.
You remember what Dick Cheney said during the during 43's Iraqi invasion?
I don't know if you're talking about deficit doesn't matter or which one are you talking about?
This is the second Iraqi invasion.
Okay, what did he say?
Dick Cheney said, our lifestyle is not negotiable.
Oh, yes. Actually, it's Bush who said that, if I recalled. I don't think it was Cheney who said that.
It was Cheney.
It was Cheney who said it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected.
And what I'm saying is this: if it's not negotiable, that means that you're not willing to make any changes at all, and you're going to do whatever you can to maintain your lifestyle, come what may.
At all costs, yes.
And when you talk about our benevolence,
benign slavery, yeah.
Well, I tend to agree with that. I just heard another thing that I heard that I saw.
I'm going to have to let you go in a minute, so real quick, my friend.
Okay. Mike Huckabee, I call him Huckabee. He said something. He said instead of having a minimum wage, we should have a maximum wage.
I hear you. I like
you
that.
Ever saw what that thing is, man?
Yeah.
It is a hideous monstrosity. And what it basically would do, it would relegate certain people to a state where they cannot make any more but a certain amount of money.
Yes.
And they're relegated to that amount of income. And I don't know how they would prevent you from doing it, but I suspect billionaires like Jeff Bezos and the Koch brothers and the Waltons, they have enough money so that they can.
They don't care. Thank you.
No, they don't care.
David, thank you for calling. You are a great person. Keep listening, keep sharing, keep doing all, and let's stay alive. Okay, brother?
I'll try.
Take care now. All right, let's go to Julie, line 5. Come on in, Julie.
Hi.
Hi,
Bertos. So I have been listening to your show today, and what is interesting was your prior caller talking about the new Jim Crow, Michelle Alexander's book, and it's very profound. I think if you have anyone out there has the opportunity, I think it's important for them to get a scope of the foundation of the absolute structure of how suppression was put in place.
Right. Well, let me hear it, Julie.
And so basically, with your other caller, basically this is my perspective on your topic today. The only way that we're going to get out of the situation that we're in is in order to stop thinking in a matter of being in a silo, because I think what happens is that as the fact that we're continued separated and the mantra, the level of programming that's put out there, it's, separation by this government, against all, people of different races. I think once we're able to look past that and realize that we're all working towards the same goal, and it's structuralized in the corporations. But this is what they have been doing for the last 50 years.
Julie.
They want to continue to separate, and color is the biggest divider and the greatest power that they can utilize
Julie,
in order to...
You are so right. I'm glad that you said that, because, one of the things that I preach all the time in paper after paper is race as a social construct. And once we get over that idiocy, how we can really move forward, because then they don't have that carnal thing, because there's a time in our history where differences were important because it showed how a tribe stayed together and could stay alive. And the way you knew that you had to run away was differences. Well, society abolished that all together, and in having a society, it creates things that the reality is race is an outdated, first of all, there's nothing called race for you, but it's an outdated concept, and very few people realize. So when you hit on that number, my friend, you're absolutely right.
And it starts even at the basic level, because we knew laws were put in place for certain groups that came into the United States, that when they open a business, that they were able to hire people of their own own
class,
culture,
etc.
And so basically you keep that separation going because the laws haven't been amended. What I found really refreshing was I was going to Washington, D.C. quite frequently, and I'd go to these restaurants, and it didn't matter what kind of restaurants you went to, there are people of all different creeds and colors working together.
Right.
When you have a system that continually supports that you can only hire Asians in your restaurant or Hispanics in your restaurant, I know that you're providing a certain type of culture, but that doesn't go away by who's serving the food.
Right. Right.
And that's the thing, because the people in the back of the kitchen, majority of them are Hispanic, but the people who are serving in the front are, maybe this color. So it's just crazy, because the fact is, once we actually address that scope
But
of really integrating ourselves and not separating ourselves.
I think that that is one of the big things that Trump did, right? Trump kind of brought out the fear in a lot of people, and I wrote an article a few months ago stating that I think Trump is doing us a big favor because we can take the scab off now, clean it out, and then start working from there. So, I mean, I'm not mad or anything like that. I'm saying we're going to fix this stuff, but it's going to take us working together to do it. And we're going to have to be intentional because it's not going to happen by accident. There's too much within culture that has people that have fooled people into believing that somehow some of these differences matter. You see, myself, I embrace differences, right? For me, differences is like a great thing, different I mean, otherwise life is boring, right? But anyhow, but we have to get it.
There's another point that I want to bring across.
Real quick, my dear friend.
The thing about it is when the churches become a corporation, that has become an issue as well.
Oh, boy, why did you go there?
Those were the ones who actually were the rebels in actually helping us correct the system. And the majority of these churches have now taken on that mentality of corporationism.
Right.
And therefore driving and actually helping these separate mentality.
You know something? And that's people always say I am anti-corporation. It's not that I'm anti-corporation. It's just that most corporations are doing the wrong thing.
Wrong thing.
You know, so I mean, if you see me promote, I mean, I can't promote. I always tell people I'm working at my office at Starbucks. Well, Starbucks treats its people very well. It gives them college education. It gives them health care, all of that. You know, I always promote them as a good company. But then, of course, you have all these other lousy companies, and I say that as well. So most of the oil companies, they're horrendous. Look at what Shell is doing over there look what Shell is doing out there in Nigeria.
Yep.
Look at what Marathon Oil is doing out there in what they're doing with refineries. They're out there in Poland right now, trying to say what Marathon is doing in America right now is trying to get the standards changed on cars. But my phones are lit up. Julie, thank you so kindly for calling. It was great hearing from you.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely, ma'am. Okay, let's go to line number 1. Roberto, come on in.
Good day and good afternoon, my friend.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm from Panama myself, and when I hear you mention...
You're from Panama. ¿Qué pasa, hermano? ¿De qué parte de Panamá eres?
Bendición.
¿De qué parte?
What I wanted to say is, if the people, the citizens of the U.S.,
yes,
all of us,
yes.
Right? I remember in Panama one time, whenever there was anything going or that the government was doing that was out of place, there was a thing that we called the FEP. I'm not sure if you remember, Federación Estudiantil.
Claro, Federación Estudiantil, claro.
These were students, and it was the Federation of Panamanian Students.
Right.
That if the government was out of place with anything in any kind of way, all the schools took to the streets.
Yes. Abel Bravo, Rufo Garay, todos
Abel Bravo, Arte y Oficio,
claro.
You name them.
Yes.
We all different uniforms, and all students took to the streets to protest whatever it is that the government was doing that was affecting the citizens.
Right.
I'm saying, how come in America, since I've been here for 36 years,
yes,
I see different states, governments, politicians have done so many things to affect the people, and then we just kind of like roll over and just take it.
My brother, hermano mío, déjame decirte la razón. The reason is very simple, right? I'm writing a new book called How to Make America Utopia, right? And the reason, and one of the chapter that I'm working on right now is called Indoctrination. Okay? And what happened is we have been indoctrinated in this country to believe we are the best. We not only are we the best, but we are different. We are cultured. You only have those riots in the streets. Of course, they forget about the 6 days in third world countries, right? So they are not. They've been told that they just remain passive. And I'm saying they meaning us all, because we're all Americans. Roberto, tú eres americano ahora. So what I'm saying is that is what's been inculcated in the mindset, right? So if I sit down and I'm out there doing my activism with folks, I would say, well, why don't we do this? And I would get some looks. Especially with the folks that are 45 and above. Now, here's the folk they're going to have to watch. They're going to have to watch the millennials. Because I talk to a whole lot of them too, right? And these guys are approaching the point where they may not take it anymore. And guess what is a magical thing? Why? They don't have anything to lose. You see, a lot of the folks that are 45 have a home. They have a car. They have this. They have that. But the millennials, we have left them. Security. We have left the millennials nothing. So they don't have anything to lose. They are the biggest generation right now. What happens when they wake up? You see what I'm saying? And you know what? They are going to, my friend, you're smiling. Tell me why you're smiling. And speak.
Because you're true about there's nothing to lose at this point. There's not much, really. It's turned out to a point where after generations, it's slowly, parents are easier on their children because they didn't want to be tough on their, tough. And slowly, it's becoming where kids are out of control. They don't mind, doing whatever they need to do to get their point across.
That's why I'm glad you're here, brother. So, folks, yes.
And if they're paying attention to things, what's going on right now, they're trying to take Social Security and make it a what they call it, an entitlement program.
Yes.
For years, I've been working in this country, and that's been taken out of my check. I'm approaching retirement age right now. What's going to be in it for me? Not a thing.
Roberto, no. See? Roberto, there's politics done right. There's KPFT. There's all these things. We are making sure that things are going to stay right. Right, Don?
And I have one question for the 1%.
Yes.
They may not be listening directly, but I know they have somebody listening for them.
Right.
How much money is enough?
Thank you, brother.
You?
Roberto, muchas gracias. ¿Qué parte de Panamá eres?
Igual, mi hermano. Bendición.
¿De qué parte eres?
De la ciudad capital, Pueblo Nuevo.
Pueblo Nuevo. Ok, tómalo con calma, hermano. All right.
Okay, mi hermano. Bendición.
All right. Look, folks, let's go now to línea número 2, number 2. Let's go to William. Come on in, William.
Hey, Roberto.
Talk to me.
I've been following this stuff ever since Bush died, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was an article in today's paper, in the editorial section.
Yes, sir.
That we're talking about this guy talking about what Bush did when the Tenement Square thing happened. He didn't react just like we want Trump to react to the Saudi situation.
Yes.
So he kind of makes the case for this guy, but all this coverage that they drowned us with for 5-6 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned the Iran-Contra deal and what that did to all the. They caused all these immigration problems.
Yes. You know something? Here's a problem with you, William. You know some history, okay? You remember Iran-Contra? You remember the reasons that we had that, and you remember some of the results that we had from that, and you also...
I've talked to people that were active military, stationed in the Gulf.
Yes.
That had paperwork put in front of them that they disavowed that they were in the Gulf. Then they were told, what they did is they tracked down all the cartels they could find, murdered and robbed them of all the cocaine, and they set up their own drug operations. And every president, this is what the whole, now both sides are liable. Every president, from Reagan on down, all the way, as far as I know, it's still going on.
Yes, it is. Hey, William, I got to go because I'm coming close on time and my lines are I still have several to answer. But look, thank you.
You remember 9/11, right?
Right. Thank you for calling, buddy. And you know what? You keep calling, you keep listening. And here's the other thing, buddy.
You're afraid to give me more than 30 seconds.
I gave you come on. No. I'm looking at the clock. You got your 2 minutes, brother. Talk to you later. You are great. Talk to you later. Brad, come on in.
Hey, Berto. This show's about, you're saying people, there's slaves and there's masters, right?
Talk to me. I hear it coming. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I know you have a master because you're married.
Oh, hey, you're so smart. You are so smart.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
When Dwayne Bradley was the general manager, was he your master at KPFT?
No.
Why not? Without him, you wouldn't have a job.
Actually, remember, I want to remind everybody that's listening here on KPFT, and that is the following. I do this on a volunteer basis. I don't get paid for being here at KPFT. I am a political activist who felt a responsibility to do what I'm doing.
Okay. And you're trying to say that people want to hold, they don't want people making lots of money? I got news for you. General Motors wants everyone to make $1 million a year so they can buy Escalades because there's more profit there.
No,
okay?
you're wrong, and let me explain how you're wrong. You're wrong. Remember this. General Motors and all these large corporations are globalists, right? Mm-hmm. Where it comes to what they pay to manufacture in their stations, they want to look at employment as simply a commodity and as cheaply as possible. They want everybody else to make a lot of money. You are absolutely right, sir. They want everybody else to make a lot of money. They just don't want to be the company that's paying the people that money. So you are partially right in what these companies need to have happen. They need people to have money. But they don't want to be the ones who are having to give the people money. So you're partially right, but the problem about spin sometimes, my dear brother, is that sometimes it doesn't add up. And you have to remember this. Not because you call somebody a businessman or a business person means they're smart or they're farsighted. Most business people are neither smart nor are they farsighted. In other words, they don't sit down. You are a very intelligent person because what you just said denotes a level of intelligence. In other words, if I want people to buy my product, I need to have people who have money. You thought that out. You could think that because you are smart. The businessman, however, isn't. Because he's going to say, I am going to Walmart and everybody else want to pay as little as possible and somehow believe they're going to have customers. That shows that they're not all that smart.
And the final thing, you said that there's someone in your studio that's a musician.
Yes.
If you get a producer likes you and is willing to spend $2 million making your CD and promoting you,
right?
They don't want to take the risk. So that's why they say you make the music we
and
want.
You are again
if you don't like it,
false.
Go somewhere else.
False premise again. Here's a false premise again.
No, it's not.
Let me explain.
If you're going to want to paint my house,
did I give you a chance?
But I want you to paint it blue. If you
sir,
want to say,
I understand what you're doing, sir.
Sir,
I understand what you're doing. You're trying to fit into the capitalist model. And this is why indoctrination that I speak about is so difficult to get against, right, or to fix, because what happens is instead of we creating an economy that instead of we creating an economy that fits humanity, we want humanity to fit an economic model. Understand what I'm saying correctly. We try to fit humanity into an economic model. I want an economic model to fit humanity. Some of what you're saying, sir, is true. It really is.
Well, you're like the Venezuelan
again.
model,
Hold on. I gave you so much time to talk, brother. You have to let me explain if you're going to call in. Don't I respect you, sir?
Sometimes.
Come on, brother. Come on.
I guess for the most part.
Thank you. All right. So here we go, my friend. Here's the deal. Stop using Venezuela again. I only have 4 minutes left. I don't want you to use Venezuela again, but what I want you to do is you keep listening and you keep calling, because I want to have a more entailed conversation with you, because having a conversation with you helped me with many others, because a lot of people are saying exactly the same things that you're saying, and it's a hindrance to us all, including you. So what I want to do is you keep calling. I'll have more shows on capitalism. I'll have more shows on economic models and so forth, and we'll talk. All right, brother?
Have a good weekend.
You too, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to go to Chris.
Real quick.
Yes.
Producers don't pay artists.
And you're in Facebook Live, but I say that again because I want them to hear that.
Producers don't pay artists.
Uh-huh.
Know what you're talking about music before you start speaking.
Well, I don't know about music.
That's the executives.
Yeah.
And plus, what producer will say, you know what, you're going to do the song I tell you. That's not how music works.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. So,
Yeah,
apparently this guy.
I guess we just call in and make up the way the whole world works because it sounds beautiful. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I don't know that. But anyhow, Facebook Live heard that. So Facebook Live, you heard what Don said, and I think Don, you do producing too, don't you?
No, I just know things.
Oh, you just know things.
Yeah.
All right.
Because even your guest is just in there going.
Yeah, this
what?
is Nicholas. Nicholas is like what?
Nicholas, like,
all right, let's go to line 4. Let's see. Come on in, line 4. That is Chris. Somehow I don't have Chris. Chris, are you there? Maybe he has his cell phone mute. We'll just hold a little bit longer to see if Chris shows up. Chris, you are on air. Did I push the wrong button or I'm good? All right. Well, anyhow, folks, the lines are completely empty. We still have 4 minutes to go. The number is 713. How many minutes do I have to go?
You got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. 713-526.
Why you want one more?
Why do I want one more?
You're not going to fit it.
You don't think I'll fit it?
I know you're not.
God, I love my callers, man. Why are you going to treat me that way? But anyhow, well, look, folks, you heard what? Well, we got a call. I'm going to take it. Okay, look here, guys. Come on in real quick. You got 30 seconds. Hello, line 1. Okay, let's go to line 2. Line 2. Hello. Hello. Oh, did I? Maybe it's something that we did. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, come on in. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hey, just wanting to shout out to Alberto, say hello, and congratulations on running for the board.
Thank you so kind. Thank you so kind. Have a great day.
Later.
That is another story why we had to do that. Okay, let's go to line number. Oops, I lost that one.
Yeah, I guess we have no more calls.
We don't have it.
Maybe you want to listen sometimes. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I want to listen sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, something. Don, I am going to start listening to my dear millennial program director here, and from now on. Well, that's not true. I'm not going to do that. But
yeah, but the whole thing is to have the conversation.
Yes, it's always have a conversation. But folks, anyhow, look, it was a pleasure having you here, Nicholas. We have a Gen Z in here who got a chance to be around a radio show and have some words on air. Did you enjoy the experience at all?
Yes, sir. Quite a bit.
You did quite a bit?
Yes.
And you actually got it. Don't call me sir like that. I feel like an old man. Come on. Not even Don calls me sir, and he's a young man too. Right, Don?
Yes, sir.
Anyhow, folks, let me tell you, we got 1 minute to go. Look, I want to tell you guys something. This is very important. Do not ever, as a person, do not ever, as a society, think that all we have is what we see today. We can really make a difference in this world. One of the things I said when I decided to give up my software company to start doing 100% political activism is the following. We've always talked about somebody has to do it. And I would always be, I'll be watching the news and I'll be, why don't somebody do X, Y, Z? Why don't somebody do this? And came to the realization, look, I used to be politically active in college. You know who that somebody is? That somebody is me. My name is Egberto Willies. And the reason I do that is because we are going to make a difference. This is Politics Done Right. Come back mañana. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.